It's the Daily Grind, Christian 105.7. I'm Laura Bortz. If you've ever experienced a long season of suffering, when you get to the end of it, it is such a relief, whether it is just a release of the circumstances, or you have victory, or just the circumstances are over. There's always some kind of relief. And sometimes that makes us feel guilty that we're relieved that it's over because we didn't have victory in that. And then other times we're relieved because we did have victory and the thing is over. I've come out of a season of brokenness, and it was a while ago, but it still feels so fresh. I wouldn't necessarily call it a season of brokenness, though. I think I'd more so call it a season of suffering. Those seasons are so fresh to us, aren't they? Even when it's been years, there's still a tender spot there. Suffering is an interesting type of brokenness because I don't necessarily think that suffering is brokenness, but it definitely comes out of brokenness. It causes brokenness and it reveals brokenness in us. Because if we take a good look at ourselves, even when we're not suffering, we can really see how broken we are. Paul was talking about his season of suffering to the Corinthian church. And in 2 Corinthians, I keep coming back over and over to the first chapter for whatever reason. And I'm always surprised at how Paul talks about comfort and how he was pushed beyond his ability to endure. I want to read that to you today. 2 Corinthians 1, starting at verse 3. It says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. For just as we share abundantly in the sufferings of Christ, so also our comfort abounds through Christ. If we are distressed, it's for your comfort and salvation. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you patient endurance of the same sufferings we suffer. And our hope for you is firm, because we know that just as you share in our sufferings, so also you share in our comfort." Continuing on at verse 8, Paul says, "We do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about the troubles we experienced in the province of Asia. We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself. Indeed, we felt we had received the sentence of death. But this happened, that we may not rely on ourselves, but on God, who raises the dead. He has delivered us from such a deadly peril, and He will deliver us again. On Him we have set our hope, that He will continue to deliver us, as you help us by your prayers. Then many will give thanks on our behalf for the gracious favor granted us in answer to the prayers of many." Suffering is interesting that way. We need a rescuer. We want a rescuer, but we don't want to be rescued because we don't want to suffer. See, I think God allows suffering in our lives so that we can rely on Him, the God who raises the dead, so that we know that when we rely on Him, that He'll come through for us, that because He did it in our other suffering, that He did it in other people's suffering, that He'll do it in ours too. The more we rely on God when suffering comes our way, the more we can know that He is who He says He is if we lean into Him and seek His presence. And then in turn, we'll be able to comfort others with the same comfort that we've received from God, and we can say, if it happened for me, then it can happen for you. I heard this song the other day, and it totally rocked me. And it may not be your genre of choice, but it's by a guy named Travis Green, and boy, oh boy, is it a good one. It's called The Breaker, and I want to read a few lyrics to you. I wish we had it or I'd play it for you, but it goes a little something like this. "It may not feel good to me, but it is good for me to be broken by you. Will keep your hand covering me. I'm free when I'm broken by you. My life is safer when I get to the breaker. Bring my mistakes to the hand of the maker. Who I am is hidden behind who I fake to be. My life is safer when I get to the breaker." Whoa, baby. When I heard those lyrics, I thought, man, is that crazy, but so true, that we are the safest when we're broken. It feels totally opposite from that. But if we are seeking the presence of God in the middle of our brokenness, we are the safest there. And in our brokenness, chains are broken. We always pray for chains to be broken from us, that we would be delivered from our sin, that chains would be broken, for lack of better terms. I can't say it any other way, I guess. But in breaking chains, we actually ourselves have to be broken by God. In order to be broken, sometimes we have to endure suffering patiently, like Jesus did. It may not feel good to us, to be broken by the Lord, but it's good for us because He disciplines the one that He loves. And we can take all of our mistakes, all of our sin, all of our circumstances to Him. And when we know that God is who He says He is, and that He delivered us once, and He will deliver us again, and He continues to do that over and over as He continues to prove Himself in our lives, we will see that we are safest when we are vulnerable in front of the Lord, and we are safest when we allow Him to break us. It may not feel good to me, but it is good for me to be broken by the Lord. Oh, that's some deep stuff. Thanks for walking in it with me today. It's the Daily Grind, Christian 105.7.